Did you even ask Dan Harmon if you could do this clip? No? Oh my god, Morty, did you ask Adult Swim if you could do this clip? No, I didn't. I'm out. Turn it off. Using us to shill this garbage. You should be ashamed of yourself.
What's up, nerds and ne'er-do-wells? I'm Iron Ninja, and the fuck am I wearing? Virtual reality. That Kickstarter that made companies invent their own version of headaches. Virtual reality is something in the gaming industry that only got good a few years ago. However, because of this, it's gone through sort of an identity crisis. For a while, it didn't know what it wanted to be, something to fuck around with, or something with more substance. This was very obvious during the early stages of its popularity, especially with PSVR's release. Games would normally last you an hour and nothing more, with most being one-trick ponies, selling only on the fact that you are there. Sure, there were some unique stuff at the time, but those were either additions to an already existing game, or didn't have enough to really stand out among the rest. Last video I took a look at Virtual Reality, a game that also advertised itself on the "you're there" gimmick and nothing else, leaving for a very safe game that didn't really go to the extent that the show does, which is disappointing when looking at the show and its creator, Justin Roiland. However, this wasn't the first VR experience by Justin Roiland. That would be his 2016 game, Accounting. Released only on Steam, this was the creative brainchild by Justin Roiland and William Pugh. If that name doesn't ring any bells, then you might remember one of the famous stories he helped design. A story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked in an office building and was employee number 2. You know, Stanley Parable. That game that encouraged you not to play it for 5 years? This is one of the craziest and most meta games to come from an independent developer. And I'm still waiting on a fucking remake. Come on, Cross. I really want it now. Please! Anyway, so the thought of both of them making a game was extremely promising. Even more so with the Accounting Plus expansion announced at the Game Awards.
And I heard there's a secret zoo level or something?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work went into it.
A lot of work for a very small sliver of the fans that will be able to find it.
So how is the game?
Fuck you! Fuck you! Get out of here! What the fuck? You're in the gang!
What the hell is this game? This game is pure insanity with a splash of meta and a dab of don't bring the kids. Every second either brings in a what in the absolute hell or a for the love of holy god, shut the fuck up in a good way. Every character is uniquely designed while staying within its art style. And the Easter eggs. Jesus Christ, the Easter eggs. This is what reality should have been. You start off in probably the most tone-shifty way possible. It's here we see the only thing exclusive to the PSVR version. A pun. Nice. We're then shown to the game itself. With off-the-cuff dialogue that would put virtual reality to shame.
Oh, yes, you must be our new accountant. Finally, yeah, I hope you like your new accounting office.
Yeah, we're super excited about the accounting work you'll be doing.
Yes, this is splendid. Yeah, we've been without an accountant for far too
Can't
long.
get anything done without an accountant.
Yeah, that's true, yeah, things have been a mess around here. We have no idea where we are with the finances.
Can't crunch the numbers without an accountant.
Alright, well, enough of the pleasantries. Let's get you all situated.
Crap, Rick! You made a Morty clone, Rick!
Yeah, I know. I had to rearrange the entire garage to do it, Morty.
Now the gameplay itself is nothing to write home about. Just generic VR. Grabable items, teleportation, basic stuff. However, this game isn't about the gameplay. It's about the bad shit insane journey. And with that, I'd like to say that the journey you do go on is fantastic. Just the pure insanity of it allows for so much humor and jokes to be thrown. And various Justin Roiland voices that totally aren't just Morty. Seriously, Justin, just give me some fucking variety, goddammit. I can only hear the same voice so many times before I want to bash someone with a baseball bat.
Jesus Christ, why does everyone in this game sound like you or me?
Similar to the gameplay, the levels themselves are pretty straightforward. However, again, that's not the focus. The focus is the comedy and how it comes from said levels. Sometimes the solution to a problem isn't obvious, so the characters make it obvious in the funniest way possible, with off-the-cuff dialogue that could last you hours. In virtual reality, you stare at a watch and they'd give you a brief and basic hint and nothing more. In accounting, there aren't hints, they just tell you the solution in the most dramatic and most comedic way possible, and it's brilliant.
What are you, a toddler? Step up, bitch.
You gotta be tough like somebody who messes with bricks!
You go from being yelled at to get the f*** out, to drinking beer and throwing bricks, to eventually killing a king and ripping his heart out, to then playing a xylophone made of talking innuendos, to then summoning Satan himself by eating shit inside the king's stomach. Yeah, this isn't even scratching the surface of this game. It gets even crazier. You then need to kill yourself through each layer of the world until you end up where you began. All in all, it's pretty straightforward, but it's very funny and downright insane. You go from Law and Order to Smokey Bear's Nightmare, eventually making your way back to the begin. Wait, the hell is that? Huh, this is different in... Ah! 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 Grab the VR! Grab it! Grab it! Grab it! Grab it!
Questions?
Oh, thank God we're back. Oh, thank God we're back. Wait. No! Ah! Oh! Oh no! Oh God! No! What the hell was that?
Hello, please.
And
welcome, please. To Accounting Plus. Thank you.
What? Well, if it wasn't great, we already got one just rolling game that involves talking to various creatures, traveling to various worlds, and having a lot of free updates. It's good we got two. Trover Saves the Universe is an odd experiment in virtual reality. Yes, you can play this outside of VR, but it's the kind of game that you don't want to do outside of VR. In other words, the opposite effect of Resident Evil 7. The gameplay itself has a lot more to say. It's a mix of Resident Evil's fixed cameras and a classic beat-em-up platformer collectathon, but in VR. However, the story isn't as bad shit as Accounting, but it goes out there enough to feel like an authentic Rick and Morty product, with off-the-cuff dialogue feeling just as odd and just as vulgar. We start off with our dogs being stolen and shoved up the bad guy's eye holes. Yes, that is a phrase I knew I would be saying eventually. And then, our protagonist named Trover walks in.
Hello, Oh yeah, this is definitely the right place.
Well, I made my word. Hey, anybody want to play? Once you meet Trover, he hands full control over to you, and you control him like a third-person platformer, and you switch between spots on the ground called warp nodes. Each spot Trover walks to is a node you can teleport for a new perspective. You can go up and down with a later upgrade, and eventually being able to levitate and throw objects. This combined with Trover's abilities, including his swordplay, hover boots, rolling, and slam attack, leads for a system that requires a lot of attention on your part. Your head is the camera and you need to keep track of Trover. All that mixed together leads for a very engaging combat system. Combat isn't so difficult that it's unplayable, you just have to pay attention, especially with the enemy types. The gameplay and combat work perfectly with the story it's trying to tell. How is the story? Okay, it's fine, but it's not as bad shit as Accounting. Also, there are some reality level half-assed dialogue, but not as much. Most of the time going along as intentionally awkward for comedic effect. The jokes get really good and very dark. The closest thing reality ever got to dark was the alcoholism joke, and even then, that was pretty safe.
Jeez, Beth, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah, Rick, thanks a lot for that, for my mom's alcoholism. I can't wait to get it someday myself.
There are also various choices in the game. Nothing drastic, just yes or no stuff. Being horrible or not, choosing to kill someone in one scenario. Come to think of it, you do kill a lot in this game. Maybe there's a dark secret behind it all. Can I just add that there's a separate Chopo mode? It's just a separate mode. Like, that's it. The model doesn't even work for most animations.
Actually, some things have changed since we've last talked.
It's lazy, but the fun kind of lazy. Can I also point out how cool it is that they give a censored version for us YouTubers?
Oh,
Even though the game is already rated M. That's like giving Night Trap a T rating after all that happened in the 90s. Huh. I guess that gives you variety. Speaking of variety, Trover has a lot of variations in its world design. By that I mean one is unique, one is a reskin, one is just the xylophone level,
one you burn to the ground and 7 could kill everyone.
Another is cool for a few minutes that you're there, and one is a mix of all of them. Levels aren't unique visually like an episode of Rick and Morty or Accounting, and the places that are unique are short with you being there for only a few moments. They're pleasing to look at, but they don't give you that what the fuck factor like Accounting did. It's not a takeaway, but it is noticeable. You know what isn't noticeable? Every single fucking green power baby in every fucking goddamn world. These things are so annoying, and they're everywhere! Yet so annoying to find! Anyway, the game overall is great, and miles better than virtual reality. This feels like something Justin Roiland would make. It's up in all the right ways, and it's downright hilarious. Trover and Accounting are perfect examples of when a creator is allowed full control over their game. It can allow them to give a much more rich experience, and not just basic tie-in stuff. Tie-in games can feel very forced. It's easy to notice in terms of length or quality. Some of these games have very little behind them, or little that makes them stand out, outside of the property they're based on. It's very clear, especially with VR games, when a game comes from a place of passion versus a place of focus groups and mass marketing. I would continue to rave on the subject, but apparently, bashing people's face in is illegal. Oh shit!